This milestone is both a personal blessing and a testimony to the remarkable advances that have been made in cancer care in recent years. Testimony that I hope may give encouragement to the 50% of us who will be diagnosed with the illness at some point in our lives. Yet, too often, I am told people avoid screening because they imagine it may be frightening, embarrassing, or uncomfortable.
Nobody expected the story to explode this fast. One headline claimed Prince William and Catherine had finally drawn a line against Tom Parker Bowles. Another insisted a quiet decision inside royal circles had exposed a struggle over authority that had been building for years. Within hours, the internet had already reached its verdict. But there was one problem. Almost nobody stopped to ask what had actually happened. Behind the sensational headlines lies a much bigger question, one that reaches far beyond a single member of the King's extended family. Who really controls Britain's royal estates? Is it the King, the Queen, the Prince of Wales? Or has the public misunderstood the rules all along? The answer could completely change the way this entire controversy is viewed. As palace silence fueled even more speculation, commentators began connecting old tensions, constitutional responsibilities, and private family relationships into one dramatic narrative. Some believed this was proof that Prince William was reshaping the future of the monarchy. Others dismissed it as another internet rumor that had spiraled out of control. Either way, millions of people were suddenly asking the same question. As the story spread, familiar patterns quickly emerged. Anonymous social media accounts claimed palace insiders had witnessed an embarrassing confrontation. Video thumbnails promised explosive revelations. Comment sections filled with confident opinions, despite very few people pointing to official evidence. Before long, many readers could no longer distinguish between a verified report, an opinion piece, and a headline written simply to attract attention. The mystery was no longer just about Tom Parker Bowles. It had become a test of how quickly a modern royal narrative can take on a life of its own. Hi viewers, if you're tired of sensational headlines drowning out the real constitutional story, subscribe, like this video, and let your comment be part of the discussion. The more people who look beyond the rumors, the harder it becomes for misinformation to take over. There is a reason stories like this spread so easily. The royal family operates behind layers of privacy, constitutional convention, and carefully managed public appearances. Official statements are often brief.
I can't mimic voices for love or money. I'm completely hopeless at it. I was a really bad actor at school, and I've never been able to master the art of mimicry. But my husband, he does it really. He can do all the voices.
Personal disputes are rarely discussed. That silence creates an information vacuum, and in today's digital world, a vacuum never stays empty for long. Rumors rush in to fill the space, each one sounding more convincing than the last, simply because it is repeated often enough. What makes this particular story especially compelling is that it mixes genuine constitutional facts with dramatic assumptions. Prince William does possess real legal responsibilities that differ from those of other members of the royal family. Tom Parker Bowles is indeed connected to the monarchy through his mother, Queen Camilla. Yet he has never been a working royal and has never carried constitutional authority within the institution. Those facts are clear. The leap from those facts to claims of an official expulsion is where the evidence becomes far less certain. To understand why millions of people accepted the headline almost instantly, it is necessary to step back from the emotion and examine the structure of the monarchy itself. For generations, the public has spoken about the royal estates as though they form one enormous property controlled by a single individual.
To express my particular gratitude to you all for the great honor of addressing this joint meeting of Congress, and on behalf of the Queen and myself, to thank the American people for welcoming us to the United States to mark this semi-quincentennial year of the Declaration of Independence. And for all of that time,
In reality, the picture is far more complicated. Different estates operate under different legal arrangements. Some belong to the Crown, others are privately owned. Still others exist to support the heir to the throne through long-established constitutional agreements that date back centuries. Few people outside royal circles spend much time studying those distinctions. That gap in public understanding creates fertile ground for confusion whenever property, access, or authority becomes part of a headline. A single photograph of someone entering or leaving an estate can quickly become evidence of an imagined power struggle. A routine administrative decision can transform into a family feud after enough retellings. By the time professional commentators begin separating documented facts from speculation, millions of viewers have already formed their own conclusions. Prince William's position sits at the center of that confusion. When he became Prince of Wales following the accession of King Charles III, he inherited responsibility for the Duchy of Cornwall, a vast estate that generates income to support the heir to the throne. That responsibility is not merely ceremonial. It involves oversight, governance, financial accountability, and long-term stewardship.
2005.
It is the first trip to America.
Your very first trip to America.
Yes, with your parents and your grandmother.
More than 20 years ago, the then Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall made their first trip to the U.S. as a married couple, visiting Washington, D.C. and the White House for a dinner with my parents. I had the privilege of attending with my now husband, Henry.
I love it that we can be back together.
With loving books.
And loving books.
And loving books.
And you're here on this historic visit, 250 years of our country.
The role carries genuine legal obligations that extend well beyond public appearances and ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Catherine's role, while different in constitutional terms, places her beside William during one of the most significant periods of transition the modern monarchy has experienced. Every engagement, every public appearance, and every decision is examined for clues about the future direction of the institution. That level of attention means even routine events can become symbols of something much larger in the public imagination. Tom Parker Bowles occupies a very different place in that picture. Long before his mother married King Charles, he had established himself as a respected food writer, restaurant critic, television presenter, and cookbook author. Unlike working members of the royal family, his professional life has remained largely independent. He has frequently spoken about maintaining that independence, building his own career rather than assuming an official royal role. His relationship with the monarchy has therefore always existed outside the constitutional framework that governs royal duties. Yet public perception often ignores those distinctions. To many observers, being Queen Camilla's son automatically suggests influence extending into every corner of royal life. That assumption has fueled countless headlines over the years, some based on documented events, and others resting almost entirely on anonymous claims or online speculation. The result is a blurred line between what is known and what is merely believed. This is exactly where the current story becomes so fascinating. The headline suggests certainty. The available evidence does not. Somewhere between those two realities lies the truth, and uncovering it requires looking beyond dramatic thumbnails and emotional reactions. It requires asking a much more important question.
Gift of reading.
Oh, but he was wonderful. He used to sit at the end of our beds every night and read us these incredibly exciting stories, some of them quite frightening. He used to listen to the Hound of the Baskervilles and go to bed with pillows over our head, but he just gave us this incredible interest.
Who actually has authority over royal property? And how often does the public misunderstand where that authority begins and where it ends? If you appreciate careful analysis, instead of sensational headlines, subscribe now, because the next part of this story uncovers a constitutional detail that most royal commentators mention only briefly, yet it changes the entire way this headline should be understood. Once that piece falls into place, the biggest mystery is no longer whether someone was removed from an estate. It becomes why so many people believed the claim before asking whether it could legally have happened in the way the internet described it. It was not began with an official statement, but with a surge of server activity at 3 o'clock in the morning. Somewhere in a brightly lit room, a thumbnail went live, showing a cropped image of Prince William with a darkened, shadow-cast face next to a bold banner alleging a secret eviction. Within 45 minutes, the algorithm caught fire. Thousands of notifications lit up smartphones across 3 different time zones, while the rest of the world was still asleep. Comment sections began filling with breathless reactions, with users tagging their friends, quoting unverified fragments, and treating a completely fabricated headline as a proven historical event. By the time morning news producers arrived at their desks, the phrase was already trending across global search engines. It was a masterclass in how modern misinformation moves across the digital landscape. A single obscure blog post had taken an obscure administrative filing regarding property management within the Duchy of Cornwall, stripped away all context, and attached it to a high-profile name. The initial report claimed that an emergency meeting had been called at Windsor, that raised voices had echoed through private corridors, and that a decisive order had been issued to bar Queen Camilla's son from stepping foot on specific grounds. None of those claims carried an official source. None offered a single named witness. Yet, because the story tapped into existing public curiosity about blended family dynamics within the modern monarchy, it moved faster than any factual correction ever could. If you are the kind of viewer who simply scrolls past these headlines, swallowing sensational claims without ever stopping to demand real evidence, then you are part of the reason these digital lies continue to spread unchecked. Every time you click on a fake thumbnail without demanding accountability, you reward the very people who profit from deceiving you. But if you actually care about truth, if you care about separating documented reality from manufactured hysteria, then hit that subscribe button right now. Staying silent and uninformed is a choice, and if you choose to ignore the truth, you have no right to complain when the internet replaces reality with pure fiction. As the morning progressed, the digital snowball turned into an avalanche. Content creators across multiple platforms recognized the sheer volume of search traffic and immediately began producing their own commentary videos. They did not pause to verify the legal reality of royal property management. They did not check whether Tom Parker Bowles had ever held a lease, a residency, or even an informal standing request for accommodation on any crown land. Instead, they fed the machine, building elaborate theoretical narratives out of thin air. They analyzed old public photographs for subtle body language cues, claiming that a distant glance at a church service years prior was early proof of a long festering feud. The silence from the palace only accelerated the frenzy. In the high-speed world of 24-hour content creation, an official silence is never interpreted as dignified restraint. It is treated as a guilty admission. When private secretaries and press officers refuse to answer frantically typed emails from online reporters, the lack of a denial was immediately converted into a confirmation. Headlines shifted from asking whether a confrontation occurred to asserting that the fallout was now catastrophic. The media vacuum was completely filled by commentators who understood that outrage generates far more clicks than quiet legal reality. Behind the scenes of this rising digital noise, the actual mechanics of estate management were moving forward, as they always had, governed by rigid protocol, legal contracts, and financial transparency. The Duchy of Cornwall operates under strict statutory guidelines. Decisions regarding who lives on an estate, who leases a farm, or how land revenue is allocated are subject to legal audits and public accounting standards. They are not decided during dramatic midnight shouting matches in palace drawing rooms. The idea that a future king could simply wave a hand and cast someone out of a property without legal documentation, legal notice, and administrative records is a fantasy designed for dramatic television, not the functioning reality of a constitutional institution. Yet the public chose the fantasy. Online forums fractured into defensive camps. Some users praised Prince William for what they perceived as a strong, decisive display of authority, claiming he was protecting the royal legacy for his immediate family. Others launched harsh criticisms, framing the unverified event as an act of cold cruelty toward his stepbrother. Both sides built passionate, angry arguments on a foundation made entirely of smoke. Neither side stopped to ask if the event had actually happened in the first place. The emotional pull of the narrative was simply too powerful to be ruined by a boring check of the legal record. This momentum was sustained by a very specific tactic used by modern online gossip networks. When an original rumor begins to fade, creators inject fresh speculation to keep the cycle alive. By mid-afternoon, new headlines claimed that Queen Camilla was intervening behind closed doors, demanding that her husband overrule his eldest son. Anonymous insiders were quoted in low-tier tabloids, offering vivid descriptions of alleged tense phone calls and cancelled dinner plans. The narrative had evolved from a simple property dispute into a full-scale constitutional crisis, completely unburdened by the necessity of proof. What the public consistently failed to realize was that Tom Parker Bowles has spent his entire adult life building a career completely separate from royal estate management. As a food writer, author, and television personality, his professional presence has always been anchored in the media and publishing industries, not in the administrative corridors of royal properties. He has never drawn funds from the public purse. He has never held an official title or a royal role that required a residence on crown land. The narrative required him to be a villain or a victim within a royal power play, ignoring the basic fact that his life exists entirely outside the legal boundaries of the royal household. The true conflict taking place was not a dramatic confrontation between family members in a private hallway. The real struggle was happening on the screens of millions of people who could no longer tell where reality ended and sensationalism began. The digital ecosystem had successfully taken a routine administrative shift in estate management, combined it with public curiosity about blended royal families, and turned it into an international spectacle. The machinery of outrage had done its job perfectly, ensuring that millions of viewers were fully invested in a narrative that existed only in the space between algorithmically generated thumbnails and unverified comment threads. The public assumed this was a story about family dynamics, personal grudges, and behind-the-scenes maneuvering. They believed the narrative was escalating toward a dramatic climax, where one side would eventually be forced to make a public statement. But as the speculation reached its absolute peak, a far more significant realization began to emerge from the background noise, one that threatened to make every single viral commentary video entirely obsolete in a single stroke. The fundamental premise that everyone was arguing about rested on a complete misunderstanding of how authority is legally exercised behind palace doors. The entire digital debate had focused on who had the personal desire to act, completely ignoring the far more important question of who actually held the legal power to do anything at all. A heavy leather-bound ledger slammed down onto a mahogany desk inside the Duchy of Cornwall administration office, scattering official land deeds and financial audits across the polished wood. The room was deathly quiet, except for the ticking of an antique clock in the corner. Across the table, team lawyers and land managers sat in absolute silence, staring at the precise legal boundaries mapped out in front of them. This was the unglamorous, high-stakes reality of royal power. While internet comment sections raged over imagined shouting matches and emotional family betrayals, the actual fate of vast estates, high-value tenancies, and historical properties was being decided strictly through cold, unyielding legal paperwork. The public imagines royal authority as a crown and a wave of a hand, a theatrical world where a prince can simply banish an unwanted relative with a sharp command. The legal reality is far colder, far more rigid, and completely indifferent to human emotion. When Prince William assumed control of the Duchy of Cornwall, he did not just inherit a prestigious title or a vast portfolio of beautiful countryside. He assumed strict, legal fiduciary duties over an estate valued at well over £1 billion. The duchy is not a personal playground. It is a highly regulated trust that operates under centuries of statutory law, parliamentary oversight, and relentless public accountability. Every decision made within that portfolio must clear brutal financial and legal hurdles. If a property is leased, it requires a legal contract. If a resident is given access to land, it demands clear terms, liability coverage, and strict compliance with property laws. Prince William cannot simply grant free long-term housing to personal friends, nor can he arbitrarily throw someone off a property based on a personal grudge or a tense family dinner. To do so would violate the legal trust governing the entire duchy, exposing the management structure to severe official audits and severe legal risk. If you are sitting there right now, comfortable in your ignorance, assuming that royal life is just an endless soap opera played out for your daily entertainment, then you are actively allowing yourself to be manipulated by bad actors. You ignore the heavy burden of constitutional duty because dynamic gossip feels more exciting than boring legal reality. If you are ready to finally grow up, put away childish tabloid fantasies, and demand real facts, then hit that subscribe button right now. Walking away now just proves you prefer convenient lies over uncomfortable truths. This strict legal architecture reveals the massive gap between public perception and actual power. Queen Camilla holds an exalted position as Queen Consort, sitting beside King Charles at the very apex of state ceremonies. Her social influence is immense, her presence at official events undeniable. Yet, when it comes to the legal ownership and administrative governance of royal property, her position holds absolutely zero statutory power over the Duchy of Cornwall. She cannot sign a lease for a duchy property, nor can she block an administrative decision made by the legal trustees. Internet rumor mills spent days claiming that Queen Camilla was furiously engaging in behind-the-scenes battles to protect her son's supposed standing within the estate network. These claims built a thrilling narrative of stepmother against stepson, a high-stakes battle for dominance behind historic palace walls. Yet, every line of that narrative collapsed when held against basic constitutional law. Queen Camilla never had the legal standing to demand property access for her children in the first place, making the entire premise of a dramatic power struggle completely absurd. The reality of Tom Parker Bowles' position is even simpler, grounded entirely in standard property law, rather than grand royal intrigue. He is a private citizen. He has built a successful, completely independent career in journalism and publishing, earning his living entirely outside the royal financial ecosystem. He holds no official position within the royal household, commands no public allowance, and possesses no constitutional right to claim housing on crown land or duchy property. He has never required an eviction notice because he was never legally settled on those estates in the first place. When property managers conduct routine reviews of duchy holdings, evaluating security protocols, tenant agreements, and structural maintenance, those actions are purely business operations. A gate lock being changed, a tenancy lease expiring, or a security perimeter being redrawn at a rural residence are normal daily events for a massive real estate operation. Yet, when filtered through the lens of modern tabloid speculation, a routine security update at an estate boundary instantly morphed into a sensational headline claiming a stepbrother had been violently cast out into the cold. This is where the psychological trap closes on the public. People desperately want to believe that royals live in a world governed by raw emotion, personal vendettas, and unchecked power, because that narrative feels familiar and thrilling. It turns complex administrative governance into an easily digestible melodrama. Viewers gladly accept the idea that Prince William used his position to launch a personal attack on his stepbrother, entirely ignoring the fact that every single land decision leaves a permanent paper trail reviewed by independent accountants and legal authorities. The silence maintained by the Prince and Princess of Wales during this media storm was not a sign of retreat or tacit admission. It was the calculated response of an administration that understands the law. Responding to fabricated claims about private property evictions would only legitimize claims that were entirely fiction from the start. They let the storm rage across the internet, confident in the unassailable legal reality documented in their locked office vaults. The public continued to debate who won and who lost in this imagined royal showdown, completely missing the true revelation hidden right in front of them. The story was never about a dramatic eviction or a broken family alliance. The cold truth was that the entire crisis had been manufactured out of thin air, sustained by a public that preferred sensational drama over constitutional facts. But as the outrage machine began to exhaust itself, one final haunting question remained hanging in the heavy air of the palace corridors, a question that cut straight to the terrifying power of silence itself. A heavy red leather folder slammed shut on the long oak table inside the palace communications office, sending a dull echo through the high-ceilinged room. A senior press secretary leaned forward, staring at the glowing grid of phone screens, each displaying the exact same viral headline. Outside the tall windows, a crowd of tourists pressed against the iron gates, snapping pictures and refreshing their news feeds. Inside, the air was thick with deliberate, calculated quiet. No emergency statements were typed, no urgent press releases were printed. The decision had already been made, just as it had been made during 100 previous digital storms. The institution would say absolutely nothing, leaving the furious online outrage to burn itself out against a stone wall of pure silence. This absolute refusal to engage is not an accident or a sign of passive surrender. It is a deeply calculated weapon of royal strategy, refined over generations. The ancient doctrine of never complain and never explain was not designed for an era of instant internet commentary, yet it remains the most terrifying tool in the palace arsenal. When a dramatic claim emerges, alleging a bitter eviction or a quiet family banishment, the public instantly demands a clear, emotional denial. They expect a public figure to defend their reputation, to step before cameras and clear their name. When that response never comes, the silence heavy and unbroken, it creates a terrifying psychological vacuum that rattles commentators and casual readers alike. Every single second that palace officials refuse to speak, the digital world spins further out of control. Content creators, hungry for fresh material, treat the lack of a denial as an absolute confession of guilt. Tabloids interpret the stillness as proof of deep internal panic, publishing dramatic stories about frantic behind-closed-doors meetings that never actually took place. The public feeds on this silence, projecting their own fears, biases, and dramatic fantasies onto a blank canvas. Yet behind those thick stone walls, the silence is not a sign of fear. It is a cold, calculated reminder that the monarchy operates on a timeline of centuries, completely unbothered by the temporary noise of 24-hour news cycles. If you are sitting there right now, watching this analysis while secretly hoping for cheap, sensational drama and explosive family warfare, then you are falling directly into the precise psychological trap these clickbait peddlers set for you every single day. You consume lazy, fabricated narratives because checking real sources requires actual effort and intellectual discipline. If you are tired of being treated like an easily manipulated fool and want to support genuine, fact-based investigation, then hit that like button and share this video immediately. Turning a blind eye to truth and sharing unsourced gossip makes you directly complicit in the death of honest journalism. This calculated silence places Prince William and Catherine in an extraordinarily complex position. Every single day, millions of eyes watch their every movement, searching for subtle signs of stress, hidden body language cues, or unspoken tensions. When a rumor spreads, claiming William personally banished Tom Parker Bowles from an estate, the public expects a subtle signal, a tense facial expression during a walkabout, or a missed glance at a formal gathering. Yet the Prince and Princess of Wales continue their duties with cold, unflappable precision. They walk past rows of shouting reporters, smile for pictures, and focus entirely on official engagements, treating the swirling internet storm as if it does not exist at all. This refusal to react infuriates the modern media landscape. In an age where digital influencers apologize publicly within minutes of a controversy, the monarchy's complete detachment feels almost alien. It exposes a chilling truth about how modern media operates. Online commentators do not actually want a factual correction. A formal statement proving that Tom Parker Bowles was never evicted would kill the story, destroying millions of potential views and drying up ad revenue overnight. The media system relies on the ongoing mystery, thriving on the empty space created by official silence to keep audiences perpetually hooked, angry, and continuously clicking. The Palace press team understands this toxic ecosystem better than anyone else. They know that issuing a formal denial only serves to elevate a completely baseless internet claim into a legitimate global news story. The moment an official spokesman mentions the name of a viral rumor, that rumor becomes verified history in the public mind. By remaining entirely mute, the Palace starves the narrative of official oxygen, forcing commentators to endlessly recycle the same 3 unverified claims until the audience eventually grows bored and moves on to the next manufactured scandal. Yet this strategic silence carries a heavy, hidden cost that ripples far beyond palace walls. As days turn into weeks without an official statement, the unverified rumor takes root in the collective public memory. Millions of casual observers who saw the original headline will never read a legal breakdown or a factual correction. They will simply carry the vague, lingering belief that something sinister happened behind closed doors, that a ruthless line was drawn, and that a stepbrother was cast out into the cold. The sensational lie becomes embedded as unwritten truth, quietly shaping public perception for years to come. The ultimate irony of this media storm lies in who actually profits from the chaotic noise. While the public furiously takes sides, arguing over loyalty, power, and family ethics, the digital platforms profit off every furious comment, every angry share, and every desperate search query. The entire controversy was manufactured out of thin air, sustained by an algorithm that rewards outrage over reality, and prolonged by an institution that refuses to grant the online mob the satisfaction of an answer. The palace walls remain as cold and impenetrable as ever, keeping their true secrets locked tightly away from public view. The public continues to debate the unverified eviction, completely convinced that they have seen through the veil of royal secrecy to witness a dramatic family feud. But as the digital dust slowly begins to settle over this viral storm, one final, lingering shadow remains stretched across the entire narrative. A final constitutional truth that completely shatters the entire foundation of the headline once and for all. A heavy steel key turned in the high iron lock of the Duchy of Cornwall estate office door, locking away the final ledger as the afternoon shadows stretched across the ancient stone courtyard. Outside, the news cameras had finally packed up their tripods, leaving behind an empty street and a quiet that felt almost eerie after days of relentless media noise. The digital storm that had consumed millions of screens across the globe was finally beginning to cool, leaving behind trails of unanswered questions, broken assumptions, and a public left staring at the stark difference between online sensationalism and quiet constitutional reality. When the dust settles on a story like this, the truth reveals itself not in dramatic public confessions or explosive palace announcements, but in the unyielding legal facts that existed long before the first clickbait headline was ever crafted. There is no verified public record, no legal filing, and no official statement confirming that Prince William and Catherine ever announced Tom Parker Bowles was thrown off any royal estate. The entire viral narrative, which drove millions of views and sparked furious international debates, was constructed out of pure speculation, fueled by an internet ecosystem that thrives on conflict, outrage, and unverified allegations. What actually remains when the dramatic noise is stripped away is a clear, cold reality of constitutional duty and independent lives. Prince William carries the massive, legally binding burden of managing the Duchy of Cornwall, an estate governed by strict statutory laws, financial audits, and parliamentary oversight that leaves zero room for personal vendettas or dramatic family evictions. Across that same line, Tom Parker Bowles continues to navigate his adult life as an independent food writer and media figure, completely outside the official royal household, drawing no public funds and holding no legal claim to crown housing in the first place. If you are going to walk away from this video right now, close your browser and immediately fall for the very next unverified headline that pops up on your feed, then you have learned absolutely nothing from this experience. You are choosing to be a passive consumer in a media landscape designed to manipulate your emotions, exploit your curiosity, and sell you lies disguised as insider knowledge. But if you actually value your intelligence, if you want to stand among the rare viewers who demand evidence over emotion and truth over digital hysteria, then subscribe to this channel right now. Ignorance is a choice, and staying subscribed is your only shield against the relentless wave of digital deception. The true mystery at the heart of this entire event was never whether a secret expulsion took place behind locked palace doors. The real story, the far more unsettling truth, is how effortlessly millions of people were convinced to believe a complete fiction. It exposes a modern media landscape where a routine administrative review or a simple shift in estate security can be instantly transformed into a sensational royal feud, swallowed whole by a public that craves melodrama over documented facts. It shows how official silence, intended to maintain dignity and starve rumors of attention, can be weaponized by algorithms to turn an empty space into an international spectacle. In the end, headlines like these tell us far less about the internal relationships of the royal family than they do about ourselves. They expose our appetite for scandal, our willingness to accept anonymous claims as gospel, and the terrifying speed with which unverified gossip can rewrite reality in the public mind. Prince William and Catherine will continue to step into their expanding roles with quiet, unyielding focus, while the digital machinery prepares its next viral storm. The palace stone walls remain standing, completely indifferent to the outrage beyond the gates, keeping their true secrets locked securely away from a world that rarely stops to ask for the truth. Do not think for a single second that this is where the story ends behind those heavy iron gates. While the public was distracted by manufactured property feuds, a far more dangerous legal document was quietly signed behind closed doors at Sandringham, one that directly alters the line of royal inheritance oversight and strips key authority from 3 senior figures without a single public announcement. In our very next video, we uncover the hidden financial ledger leaked from the High Court archives that reveals the exact moment Prince William took absolute control over a secret trust fund, sparking an unprecedented legal showdown that the palace is desperately trying to bury before sunrise. Subscribe now and turn on all notifications immediately, because once this next file is exposed, the official royal history will be rewritten forever.